Okay, so something major is clearly about to go down in the Boruto 2 Blue Vortex story, because after the last couple chapters, there's no denying that the story is building up to not only an epic battle, but potentially some epic resolutions regarding major plot points that the story has been building up over the last couple years. But there's definitely something that I want to start this off with addressing, because while yeah, this is probably gonna get a few people upset, it needs to be said, it has to be addressed, because one of the things about the Boruto 2 Blue Vortex story, for better or worse, because while some fans may have a little bit of a gripe with it, ultimately it is what it is, and it has been established that shipping and romance and love is actually a very big deal with this story. There's a section of the fandom that really enjoys it, that's their thing, and Ikamoto has been very much so upfront with, yeah, that is a core element of the story. Like, he's not hiding it. Almost every other chapter we're getting some type of addressing of these feelings that these characters have, in particular Sarada, Sumire, and to a certain degree Ada, regarding Boruto and Kawaki. And before we continue, hit that subscribe button and that bell if you want more of these videos, you want more of the world of Boruto, Naruto, and all that stuff. I got you covered. But I think a lot of people are thinking this but probably won't say it, and I'm gonna be the one to say it. And that's the fact that, I'm gonna be honest, it feels like to a certain degree Sumire and Sarada are acting somewhat cowardly. Before you get up in arms, let me explain what I mean, because it's been very much so apparent over the last few chapters, honestly over the course of the series for that matter, of Sumire and Sarada's feelings towards Boruto, their true intentions, and in general what they feel when it comes to this dude. Like, it's been very much so obvious, at the very least to the audience, Boruto is technically somewhat not aware that these two have these major feelings towards him, but the narrative has been very much so open with the fact that both of them have strong feelings for him. I mean, with Sarada's character alone, there's been several different instances of whether it be her unlocking new powers or upgrading, utilizing powers that maybe she was intimidated to use because of her feelings and love for Boruto. Likewise with Sumire, she's shown time and time again what she feels for this guy and has been a little bit more apparent about it, has been a little bit more upfront about it. But regardless of all that, for the most part, every time we get to the point of seeing from, you know, the, I guess, audience's perspective of Sumire and Sarada and what they feel for Boruto, and in the latest chapters as well, it once again gets addressed thanks to Ada. And honestly, when it comes to these two characters and admitting their feelings, you know, confessing their love for Boruto, it kind of always results back to both of them having an excuse or a reason not to do it. Essentially, to me, it looks like, well, they're just scared of whatever it may be, whether it be they're scared of the rejection, whether it be they're scared of other forces being at play. It's very clear and apparent that they have these feelings, but they don't address them because, well, you could throw in, you know, plot reasons or whatever, but in general, they're acting scared. And personally, I look at it as like, yo, dog, if you really have this admiration, this love, this affection, all of this stuff for Boruto, you gotta remember that Boruto, very strong dude, yeah? Like, it's very much so been apparent since the beginning of the story that Boruto is willing and able to do whatever it takes to make sure that he protects the people that he loves. Boruto is strong. Boruto is strong-willed. Boruto went through a lot. Like last year, for example, when we got those chapters where Boruto was essentially being tormented and interrogated, like, it showcased that Boruto is willing to do whatever it takes. And very clearly, Boruto would probably need somebody that is just as strong, not only as far as combat goes, because yeah, Sarada can throw some hands, but in general have that oomph to go into the face of danger and face whatever it is that you're scared of. And that's something that is very clear. Boruto needs a partner that is going to be able to do those things or have that sort of strong will, you know, taking it back to OG Naruto, the will of fire. And it just feels like with these two, they constantly go back to and resort to just kind of like taking slow baby steps. And don't get me wrong, slow and steady wins the race for sure, but it comes to a point where you just kind of gotta go for it. I mean, whatever you want to say about the romance in Naruto, as far as like the way it was structured, it really wasn't focused in on, it wasn't a central focal point of the story, unlike Boruto. Ultimately, you never doubted for a second not only Sakura's feelings, but the fact that Sakura was able to and willing to go for it whenever it came the opportunity for her to confess to Sasuke. From the very beginning, she was just constantly showing, for better or worse, that yo, she wanted Sasuke. And even Hinata, yeah, it took a lot, and ultimately for a while she was a bit shy, so to speak, but eventually she went for it during the Pain Saga when they was going through that whole ordeal and fighting one of the strongest foes. She said, you know what, regardless of the story right now, out. Regardless of what's happening, I'm going for it. And she confessed her feelings for Naruto. Even in the 4th grade Shinobi War, she had to, you know, give homie a little bit of a dap on the face to let him know, like, yo, snap out of it. But again, that was a, I guess, prime example of the strong nature that Hinata had. And that was something that was more of a driving force that, yeah, this strong-willed person was able to stand next to Naruto. Likewise with Sakura's strong will and how she was eventually able to, despite everything that she went through with Sasuke. Because remember, it wasn't a simple path for Sakura either to get with Sasuke. There was given points where they were at odds with one another. When she went to kind of try and poison homie, so to speak, when she was trying to take him down to eventually inevitably either bring him back to the leaf or solve things once and for all, Sakura was willing to go the distance for her love as well. And so I look at these two characters, and while romance is a focal point of the story very clearly, ultimately it seems as though these two characters need to kind of take a note or a page or two from the predecessors and quit with being scared and afraid and, you know, all of that stuff, because it's clearly not working. Neither one of them are with Boruto. In fact, from what we've seen in the last few chapters, Boruto is more focused in on this new blade that he's had for a bit than even, you know, because as the plot is quote-unquote thickening and we got big advancements that Mamushi is, you know, about to invade the hidden leaf, and there was a lot of explanations and exposition into Mamushi's powers, and shout outs to Kashi and Koji, always giving the insight, the futuristic intuition, so to speak, of what's going to go down using the 10 paths and whatnot. But you know, we have very much so big and chaotic battles up ahead. But going back to the whole romance aspect, that never stopped any character in Naruto when they wanted something. Like, again, they were in the 4th grade Shinobi War. Again, they were in the midst of the Pain arc. Again, they were in the midst of Sasuke's rebellion and them trying to find him. And the previous generation, when they wanted something, they went for it, and they weren't scared of any sort of backlash. They weren't scared of whatever would come from it. So when certain subsections of the fandom utilize that excuse as to, well, you know, things are too serious, the plot is too hectic, so to speak, for them to go for it, that just doesn't feel like a valid reason why they don't just admit their feelings. But that's not the entirety of what's been going down in the Boruto 2 Blue Vortex story, because as I said, the Divine Tree people are closing in. I really appreciate how Ikemoto has been giving more of the structure and the ideals of the Divine Tree people, truly giving them characterization, unlike just making them, you know, just, oh, the mustache twirlers of the week. Like, they genuinely, slowly but surely, have been truly characterized as more than just these, you know, tree people. For starters, we got a little more exposition into the relationship between Mamushi and Jura, that while Mamushi is, you know, a very dangerous foe, so to speak, that has these incredible powers that he can create these clone copies of himself, but they're all still fully powered as if it was just the regular Mamushi. At the same time, he won't go against Jura's orders, and honestly, it seems as though Jura has the entire Shinobi world shook. Homie be just kicking it in the hidden leaf, doing what he wants, reading his books, and the Hokage Shikamaru himself said, like, yo, dog, he tells everybody for the most part, just let him be, let him do his thing, because they don't want no smoke. Which I don't think we've ever even seen something like that for the most part, unless I'm misremembering, and like even OG Naruto, of like the threat being so major that ultimately, like, you just gotta let him do what he wants for the moment. Not only is that just in terms of like power structuring, demonstrating like, yo, dog, Jura right now is way too strong, but it also just recontextualizes every villain we've ever seen in Naruto, that like, yo, they just allow him to come and go as he pleases because they know there's nothing they can do and they don't want to cause any casualties. And at the moment, homie is just cooling out, you know, being a regular dude. But even more so, I like that you're getting to see his character as well, his thoughts on love, the fact that he understands what it means to cry. These characters have truly been built up to be more than just credible threats. Like, they've been, I don't want to say humanized, but essentially taking on characteristics and humanized traits. Ikemoto is very much so insistent on making this next generation important, and I'm not mad at it. I mean, we've seen throughout, especially 2 Blue Vortex, that slowly but surely he wants the new generation to actually be more important. He's not just trying to recreate the quote-unquote Naruto and Sasuke show, because Inojin has been thrusted into a very important role in terms of the fact that Kashi and Koji summoned him and said, like, yo, dog, in a certain future that I had seen that we're going to avoid, it's not going to happen, don't worry, but you get some epic powers that you utilize due to getting revenge because of how you feel about Himawari. Not even gonna address that whole situation because not a fan of that at all. But inevitably, it seems as though Ikemoto is really pushing forth to make Inojin a very credible threat. It seems as though this training that he's about to undergo is gonna make it happen. It's gonna showcase Inojin in a different light, and hopefully not only does he get a power up, I think maybe slightly a change of the character design, just because Inojin just kind of like I think that they could do more with his character's look and whatnot as the story progresses, especially if he's about to undergo some type of training. This will be good for the character, and in general, this will be good for Ikemoto to demonstrate, okay, we're not just recreating what was done with Naruto, which we've seen a lot of different beats that Boruto has done, or renditions of Naruto that Boruto has done throughout the story. This one seems as though, no, they're going all in, straightforward, to do something a little bit different, and I'm not mad at it. Like, yeah, of course, we all want the, you know, previous gen to shine. We want Kakashi to return to the story. We want to see all those epic things, but at the same time, seeing some of the next gens shine and get power-ups in the right way and proper training, we could do that too. And this whole intelligence thing is just madness, so to speak, where we got Shikamaru being summoned by the elders, and once again, Kashin Koji, that you would call him a plot device if you want to. Personally, I think he is another anomaly to the story that shakes things up and makes it just very different from Naruto. You didn't have a Kashin Koji type of character, and what I'm referring to, because I know people are going to say, hey, ain't he just a Jiraiya clone? Like, the character has shown throughout the course of the story that he's become his own, so to speak, and he's not just Jiraiya 2.0. Him being able to give this insight of what could happen in the future if we don't avoid certain aspects has been very vital, and has helped and made situations a lot more interesting than they would have been if it was just like, well, let's see what happens next. Koji saying this could happen, listen to me, has made things just a lot more exciting even. But as Shikamaru was summoned, Koji basically said like, yo dog, we need you as Hokage. That is our best bet. You got to navigate through this situation accordingly, even at certain points saying like, yo dog, just push it off on Konohamaru right now because we need you. And despite that, some people, you know, as always, want to come at Konohamaru or whatnot, I think that it was beyond crucial to showcase and demonstrate how solid he is. Like, in a world of shinobi where you never know the trickery and deception, and at the end of the day, that one person that was appointed by the elders to question and whatnot, it's very awesome, fascinating, and a great character build for Konohamaru, that once he heard from Shikamaru and, you know, just in general, this whole massive grand plan and what's really been going on, and how Boruto is not the bad person that everybody proclaimed to be, he stood solid. And even when he was questioned, he was just straight up with them like, yo, no, like, I don't think that he's bad at all. And I respect that. I definitely appreciate the fact that Konohamaru stood solid. It is another demonstration of like those core elements of a true shinobi. Like, you can say whatever you want about some of the battles he's had in the past, but ultimately stuff like that is vital. Somebody that could actually hold it down in a tight situation, like, yo, you don't know what could happen. That is very crucial, valuable, and in general, like, yo, props to Konohamaru staying solid. And Ada pushing the love plot even further, very much so, is getting interesting and exciting as far as that aspect goes for the people that do appreciate the whole pairing and shipping wars. Because not only that was an aspect of it as well, but also Ada essentially at first, because let's not forget that technically Ada is still kind of sort of in the ballpark of enemy territory, and it was supposed to be that if she knew that Sarada and Sumire were not under her spell, ultimately she would send Damon in to finish them off, and we had a very close call there for a moment. But essentially that was another big aspect of the chapters and of the story in general, of Ada basically not only realizing, which she probably knew for a while, that they neither one of them were under her spell, but also saying like, yo, the fact that y'all still want to be my friend despite all of this, like, that formed a bond with them and made her more of an ally. Although it is a little bit dicey right there, because again, Mamushi's target is Ada. Like, that's one of the things that he wants from the Hidden Leaf, so kind of gets you a little bit like, what's gonna happen moving forward? Although Damon ain't no chump neither. We saw that even though Sarada was getting ready to activate Mangekyo, Damon was like, in a second, we will finish this right now. Do not play with my sis, bruh. But as things move forward, Sumire left and Sarada stood behind with Ada, which is a very interesting dynamic right there, because at the same time, well, it'll form a stronger bond between the two of them, but I think that's going to allow for even further character development and advancement. I'm curious if Ada is going to be pushing Sarada forward to do what needs to be done, because again, Ada wants to see resolutions to love, because she also wants her own love story to happen. And I will say this, that yeah, once again, it's not the big confession that most people want. You know, at the end of the day, people want Sumire or Sarada to just outright come and tell Boruto like, yo, this is how I truly feel. And Sumire said, well, when the time is right, I'm gonna just blurt it out. And I think Sarada will do the same thing. But she's still taking steps. When Boruto asks her about, you know, fixing his new blade, ultimately she obliges and also tells him like, yo dog, don't call me by that one name, like, you know my name. So I appreciated and respected at the very least that, you know, she's still trying. Although being honest, if they did confess, what would be the worst that would happen? Like, there's only a few options. Either Boruto could be like, yo, yeah, let's do it, but not right now. He could say, which I don't think he would, because it just seems as though Boruto has a lot of love in his heart, and at the end of the day, even though, yeah, he's real serious and things is hectic right now, he could probably use some type of strong love and connection with a partner that's going to be by his side through the battles to come. Or it could be what sparks the biggest love and the biggest advancement of the love plot moving forward. So again, I guess to complete what I've been saying since the start of this video, Sumire, Sarada, and anybody else that got love for Boruto, stop being scared. Ain't nothing bad gonna happen at the end of the day. The plot is what it is, but we've seen time and time again that characters in the predecessor series didn't care about whatever was hectic. When something was heavy on their heart and they wanted to confess feelings for somebody, they went for it. Although once again, it is humorous how Boruto, despite all of this love around him, is very much so focused in on his new blade. But only time will tell where the story goes as far as the love triangle. Only time will tell what's gonna happen moving forward with Inojin's new character development and power up, so to speak, that he's about to obtain. And of course, what's about to go down with Mamushi. I'm gonna be honest with you, Mamushi definitely gives me very strong vibes of like, this ain't gonna be like the other Divine Tree people. The fact that his ability not only allows him to create several strong, full powered copies of himself, which he is already strong, is definitely something that they're probably gonna have trouble with. Although finding out that there's a kickback to it and ultimately like there's a downside, like obviously you can't just be completely, absolutely no way to be defeated. There's a lot happening there. And I will say it gives me maybe even Android Saga type of vibes. The fact that Jura won't jump in and step in if they're in a certain arena. If it's happening in Konoha, Mamushi won't even dare to kind of, you know, be too destructive because again, Jura. And yeah, it seems as though something major is getting ready to happen because by the end of the latest chapter, it was already progressed time, and it seems as though Mamushi's getting ready to head to the Hidden Leaf for what's going to be, I'm gonna say, potentially a mini war, because this dude is no joke, no games. He's very much so a credible and beyond fierce threat. And I guess before we close this out, I do want to say that it is interesting to see the dynamic between Boruto and Koji and how things is really heating up between the two of them. In particular, Boruto is still very much so not a fan of past encounters that have happened, that Koji didn't give him all the information of what would occur because, well, Koji is looking at the grander picture, but at the same time, Boruto's the one who's like, yo, dog, I'm the one that has to go through this. I'm the one that has to risk it all. I'm the one that has to have loved ones all around me that could potentially go through it. Like, remember what's happening here, fam. You're looking at the bigger picture, and that is definitely a very valid viewpoint, but at the same time, Boruto and his loved ones suffering is not something that he wants, especially considering the fact that Koji is not doing it with any malice. Like, he's doing it with the best intentions, but it's like, well, it's a rocky situation. That's all I have for this one. I'm Tim. As always, people, have an awesome day. Peace in.